Many of you in this audience may look at me as somebody very successful, and perhaps that is correct. However, in the eyes of my parents, I'm a complete failure. It is because I have not lived the life they dictated for me to live. I'm originally from Saudi Arabia, and as a woman growing up there, I was told that my role as a woman is to be a great mother, a daughter, a wife, and a grandmother. While I think those are amazing roles, and it is such a gift for a woman to play those roles in life, I knew I also wanted to have a professional presence. And I wanted to have it all. So for the first time in my life, I decided that I will step away to make a difference. And I will give up my very comfortable life to inherit a very uncomfortable one. And I moved to the United States as a teenager to follow my dreams, and most importantly, to gain freedom and independence. I moved to the United States as a teenager 10 days before September 11. That was a very challenging experience for me, because as soon as I revealed to people my origins, people judged me. I would walk down my campus and I would hear, terrorist. But I did not allow those negative experiences to come over me and take me away from, or come in between why I was in the United States for. So I decided to move on with my life, and while I was living in the United States, I got to experience so many different elements, personally, educationally, and professionally. Personally, I got to create great relationships, and for that I am so grateful. Educationally, I got to do my associates, my bachelor's, my master's, and my dissertation here. For that, I'm so grateful as well. And professionally, I got to work in the fashion industry in the areas of buying, marketing, management, consultation, and special Fashion Week production. Now, my journey in the fashion industry took me to many areas of the world, South America, Asia, to visit manufacturing plants and factories. While I was there, the experience was a bit strange for me. I felt caged. And it was because as soon as the doors opened of the factories, I got to see factory workers and the conditions they were working. It was a dark room. It was a big room with thousands and thousands of people inside, dark, little to no ventilation, cramped up, working away 10 hours, 12 hours, 14-hour days, and sometimes double shifts, 7 days a week. And I know for a fact they were not treated well, and their wages were so low. And here I was, sitting in my very comfortable office with large space, comfort, air conditioning, light, and all for myself. And something didn't feel right. And I knew that if I needed to make a difference, I needed to leave my corporate structure, because I couldn't do anything within the four walls of my corporate structure. So, for the second time, I decided to step away and make a difference once again, and I left my very comfortable corporate life to inherit a very uncomfortable life, and that was to start my own company. And my company was focusing on working with fashion designers who are coming from underrepresented countries and countries that are and underrepresented countries, and those who are coming from emerging background in the marketplace. So I was able to work in different areas of the business cycle, different areas of the development of their businesses. Most importantly, I got to see their working conditions and the people who were working for them, and to make sure that they were treated with fair wage and they were treated properly. And now the good thing is, from the consumer point of view, people are becoming more and more aware. And there are organizations such as Fashion Revolution and Remake that are serving as a voice for these factory workers, for people to understand, to know who are making your clothes. So everybody in the audience, I think that every one of you should know that the shirt you are wearing, who is making it, how many hours of labor did somebody put in to make that, and if they were treated properly. So while I was very happy with what I was doing, there was an area in my industry that I was always very intrigued by, and it was the fashion week. Now, luckily, as a buyer, I got to travel to different fashion weeks in different parts of the world, and it was mainly, of course, focused for buyers such as me and media professionals, and it was invite only. So we got to sit in these fashion weeks and see what would happen 6 months in advance. So if I was attending a fashion show in the wintertime, I will see the spring-summer collection. And if I was attending a show during the springtime, I would see the fall-winter collection. So everything 6 months in advance. And of course, it was very vital for my job to see what's going to come in the market so I can prepare the assortment for product placement. But however, one element that was very strange was that it was not open to general public. So our job is to ensure that we make smart decisions in product placement into the stores, just to make sure that the general public, who are the main demographics to shop, will shop everything and we don't have to do any markdowns. So, but they were the ones who were not attending the fashion weeks because of it being invite only. Now, however, in the last 5 years, due to a massive disruption which has been happening over a decade now, the fashion industry got affected positively and negatively. And many jobs had changed, such as my job as a buyer. I no longer had to travel a lot to make my buying decisions. I could do it using services like Jour or Le New Black. There are plenty of these kind of services that would offer me options to sit in my office and make my buying decisions. So now what was happening to these fashion weeks, which was targeted to attract us, were slowly becoming smaller, and many fashion brands stopped even presenting their collection in the fashion weeks, because their sole purpose is to showcase us the collection, and if we're not there, why should they create a huge expense and showcase their collection there? So looking at that and looking at that disruption, I thought, okay, perhaps this is the time we can make a change, and that would be bridging the gap between consumers and the fashion designer, and perhaps creating a platform which is more intimate and not invite only, so everybody in the industry can network, connect, create business together, and do business exchanges. And it's not only a platform for business and marketing, but it's also a right now platform. So what that means is that these fashion designers will be able to showcase their collection that they are creating at the moment, and not only this is a platform to showcase that collection, there will be consumers who are the real demographic that they want to attract, will be able to come to these shows and they are able to purchase it immediately. So it would be a very see now, wear now, buy now concept. So I was very excited about this concept. So I went to my colleagues that I've worked for with so many years, and I presented this idea, and I said, hey, our demographic, our target market should be emerging designers who are coming from underrepresented countries, because they don't usually get to showcase at the conventional fashion weeks. So we can create a marketplace and we can create it as one-stop shop for them. My colleagues looked at me and they said, you are crazy. Are you trying to replace your own job? This will never happen, because in the fashion industry, we don't change. Everything can change, but in the fashion industry, nothing will change, and to that drastic measure. Now, I was not trying to change something, but I was just trying to sit with what was happening around us so that we don't lose a lot of businesses in our industry. Anyhow, so with their response, of course, I realized that they will not be joining me in this venture, so I may have to do it alone. So I decided about 5 years ago to do a soft launch about in regards to this fashion week. Our response was not so bad, but it wasn't what I hoped for. But the year after year, all of a sudden there was a massive growth, fashion designers coming from all over the world, showcasing on this collection because they want to sell off their collection at that moment and they want to connect to their consumers, cutting out the middle market, which takes so long for them, right? So then I noticed that there are other fashion weeks starting with the same concept in Amsterdam, Berlin, Stockholm, which was great. And then we were offered to do these fashion pop-up shows as well in other countries, so we started doing that as well, which was really great. And then we saw the conventional fashion weeks such as Paris, London, New York, Milan started having some shifts. And New York Fashion Week on its own last year did the right now, see now, buy now, wear now concept for many brands, so which was really great to see. Now, while stepping back, looking at this wonderful change in the industry, I thought this wouldn't have been possible if we were not open to integration. Now, integration is extremely important, not only professionally, but personally as well. It is because, say for example, when I came to the United States, if I did not integrate, I would not know how the system works, how the people work, how things work around me. Now, it doesn't mean that I have to give up my values to integrate, but I can keep my values, integrate to keep up with what's going on. And same with the business world, that we don't have to give up an idea. We just have to see what's happening in our current marketplace, integrate so that we can be successful. And now in the fashion term, this is what I want to say. We all must integrate with the current trend, but with our own style. Now, we have mastered integration. And now looking at integration, if we have an idea, sometimes it is almost scary to merge both, because when we have an idea, we think about this is how things are going to go. This is how I want my idea to land. But with integration, it may not be successful because I might have to change something. So with that, a weird feeling comes into our stomach, and that butterfly feeling. And I tell you, it is not the feeling of love. It is the feeling of feeling nervous and feeling of fear, that is. And it is all right to feel the feeling of fear, because if we don't feel the feeling of fear, we may not want something bad enough. Now, in my professional journey, about 3 years ago, I was introduced to an amazing opportunity to mentor graduate students and to train and run a fashion week. And that's basically a 3-month bootcamp training for them so that they can learn how to run an entire production company and then create an entire fashion week with that skill. So when I present them this idea the first day, they are excited, and that's only the 5% of the students. The other 95% students are confused, and a bigger chunk, they are scared. And they tell me, no, I can't do it. And I ask them, why can't you do this? And they say, because it's 3 months, I need to learn everything, how a production company works, and then I have to create a gigantic fashion week. Of course, I can't do it. And I ask them why, and then they tell me, it is because I'm afraid that I am going to fail. I am going to fail creating this massive production, so I'm not going to do it. So I look into their eyes and I ask them, what's going on? And they said, I am just very fearful. So then I asked them, who is this Mr. Fear that you're telling me about? Because Mr. Fear sounds like a liar to me. I can't see him. I can't touch him. Perhaps it's a feeling, isn't it? And it's a feeling that is deriving from your mind, which is stopping you from believing in yourself. And I tell you, our mind is a very scary neighborhood, and we must not visit it alone. So, and I know in my personal life, if I was listening to my mind a lot, I assure you that I wouldn't be the first woman to work from my family. Neither I would be the first woman to migrate to a foreign country on my own without a husband as a teenager 10 days before September 11. Many of you may think I'm utterly successful. However, in the eyes of many people, such as my parents, I will remain a failure. So, who decides if you are successful or if you are a failure? I think success and failure truly lays in the eyes of the beholder. Thank you. Was it okay? That was a strong ending.